Let's talk about customized tools, the content library, management of those things in AutoCAD architecture. So on the screen, what you're looking at is the source library file for the customized wall styles that we offer in our General Tools product. And to the left of the drawing, we have the palette that corresponds with that source file. Now, it's one of the palettes, not all of the palettes. So this drawing itself is a source for multiple palettes. So what I want to do to begin with is walk you through the process of creating your first tool palette and then putting a tool on it and then bringing it over into a place that is more preferential for an environment where you want to use it in the future for future releases or in a shared office environment, sort of like, let's say, on a server. So the first thing I'll do here is I'll go up here to the title bar of the current tool palette, right click, and I'm going to say I want to do a new palette. Then I'll go ahead and name it. And I would say that the name you come up with should have something in it that you can easily find if you want to do a search on your system in your File Explorer. So you may want to use some numbers or just some naming. Rather than saying walls, for example, make it something that has a little more specific than that. So I've gone ahead and I've created this one where I just call it Archidyme Custom Tools. And a solution or an approach I like to do is I add the same text up here. So what I get is a secondary read on the name of the palette, because once you have so many palettes up, they get truncated here and it's hard to read them. So I like to have it at the top, and then I'll throw a little separator underneath. So I right click and add a separator, and then I'll begin the work. So I might do something like walls or whatever I want. I'll put that text in there, right click, and I'm going to add some text. But I'll just go ahead now and bring in my first tool. So in the source file here, called General Tools Walls, I'm going to go up a little bit and find just a wall here. This is an exterior existing, okay? And I'll grab this and I'll go ahead and drag it over to the tool palette. All right, and it's going to pop in and give me the image from the last time a tool was created is typically what it does. I'm going to right click on that tool now, go to Properties, and I want to review them and just make sure everything looks good. So I see the name is here. There was a description provided on the style. There's no layer key set, so I'm going to go ahead and add that. So I'll click on this icon here and go down and set it to wall and OK. I don't want to use a layer override, but that could be something that you do. Now I want to check the style, so I can see the name is good because it's being found. So when you see style location, if the location isn't correct, you might see the style just says, I think, what does it have up there? Default or standard, or even this dash dash. So that's a good indicator if something's wrong, is that you don't see the name show up. Make sure you have the location, in a place that matches up with where you think it is. So that means that when you create your source file, make sure you put that in a place that makes sense to you and anybody else who may use it. So if it's on the server, for example, create a folder structure. And I would recommend that you keep your source files, those that have the object styles and data styles, relatively close to where the tools are. It just helps you understand the relationship rather than like what the source file on a C drive and the tool palettes on the D drive. I just don't think that's a good logic. But I think you'll figure it out after experimenting with it. So we'll go down, and here we see that it's bringing in the cleanup group, and it's coming from the same drawing file, so that's good. And I don't need to change anything else here. The width is good, the height is 9 feet, but you could of course change that to 8 feet or 10 feet. So it's all looking good. Now the last thing you may want to do is clean up the image for the tool over here. So you'll right click in the viewer. And you'll go down to where it says, where is it here? Preset views. Now you can go up to projection and create a perspective. But if you are making a lot of tools and you want them all to look the same, unless you make them one after the other, it's very difficult to come back in the future, add a new tool, and match that perspective angle exactly. So I've found over years of doing this stuff that I'm safe as just picking one of these, so I can always get the same orientation. So for example, there's, what was it, southwest or something like that, and here's southeast. So I'm liking southeast. So the next thing I might do is go to display, and I'll choose, do I want to go to, what do they have here? They have presentation. There should be a conceptual, sometimes shades of gray. You just figure out which one reads the best. So I'll just go ahead and go with the realistic. And then once you've got that set up, run up to the where it says image up here, right click on that and go ahead and say refresh, and then you'll see it updates. Now if you don't like it, go down, do it again, and refresh until you like the image. Be aware though that each time you're doing that, it is putting a little PNG file in a folder somewhere, but it's tiny and you could locate it and delete it at some other time. Also note that you can right click and you can specify your own image. So if you have Photoshop or some paint program, make a 64 pixel by 64 pixel image in a PNG format, and then you can actually set your own image in there. Now once you specify it, with the browse button, it will copy it to the folder location where the new tools are being built. I'm going to show you where that is in a minute. So it won't be using the original image, it'll be using a copy of that image. Just be aware of that. Cancel here. And so we're good. And we come out. Now we'll run a test. I recommend that you do that. Let's say you're doing a bunch of walls, at least run a test on your first one and make sure that it's working out. So I'll go to a new file. I'll just single click, left click on this and draw it out to make sure it's working. And I'll check it. Okay, I can see that this is definitely a custom wall. Pick on it, check my properties over here, and things are looking correct. Good. So that's a functioning tool. Now go ahead and dump this. Now, not all tools are the same in AutoCAD architecture. So I'm going to have another source file up to demonstrate how different they can be. So that's just a wall object. Now you have doors and windows and slabs and so forth, stairs. But there are other types of objects in AutoCAD architecture that will have different types of properties to deal with. So let's demonstrate that. So I'll go to General Tools, Annotation. So in our product, General Tools, go here, General Tools. You'll see we have walls here, all different kinds of walls coming out of that same file. But for annotation, we also have a bunch of things coming out of one source file. And that source file is what I'm showing here on the screen. As I zoom in, I'm going to show you our custom door tag. So it's similar to the one you get with a product, but it has a masking component. And the data is custom, of course. The way it numbers is custom. So I'm going to drag that multi-view block over to the tool palette and show you what happens. So this is the actual tag that you would be using, not those. Those are the blocks. So I'm going to drag this over. Okay, and like I did before, I'm going to right-click on it, and I'm going to go down to Properties, and notice very different properties. Also notice that it understood that this is a tag object. That's pretty cool, and I'll tell you why. If you're trying to do this, I'll show you why it knows it's a tag. This is the block that's inside the multi-view block. I'm going to right-click and go to Edit Block in Place to expose the attribute field that's in there. So here's the attribute. And the attribute is designed to pick up property data, a particular field in the property data set called number. So you can see it says Archidyme door objects, those are our doors, ; number. So in another YouTube video, I've explained how schedules work, and you can look at that to find out what's going on here. But this is the information that resides inside that block, which is inside the multi-view block. I'm going to discard changes here. And when AutoCAD architecture reads that to the tool palette, it knows that must be a tag object because it's carrying with it a reference to property set data. Okay, just be aware of that. I don't know if there's much more that we need to look at in here. There'll be different settings. There'll be a layer key, so I could, of course, take and set this to, let's see, probably would be door number. Door number. And maybe there are other things that you want to tinker with, like the leader and stuff. But no, just know that they are different, and they'll respond differently according to how these objects are configured. So I'll do an OK on that. I would also like to point out something often missed by users is that some tools are best acquired as the default tool, and then you configure it after, instead of dragging and dropping. So for example, if I draw a line, I can demonstrate that. I don't want to do it in this file. I'll make a blank file. That was my active library file. I don't want to mess that up. If I take a line and I drag that over, this is what I get. And then if I go to properties, you'll see I get this stuff here, which is fine. There's the fly out option. You can set that to no, so it just draws a line. And then these are regular AutoCAD properties. However, I'm going to delete this. If we go and explore in the library here, the content library, if we go over to I think it's the stock tools, and we go to helper tools, you'll see that among all the other different tools that are available in AutoCAD architecture, there is one for commands and one for command tool with properties. So the one that you just saw is the command tool with properties. So that's what you get when you drag and drop a line in. But watch if you do this instead. I'll add this to my tool palette. Okay, now I'm going to right click on this. And what it provides is a way to layer key a command. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is go to layer key. I'm going to set it to, let's say, electrical. And then for the command, I'm just going to type in what I want it to do. So if I wanted it to match what I did before, I could just type in line, or you could type in P line. Or if you want to be a little cleaner, program a little cleaner, make sure that it cancels whatever is on the command line. So you would do something like, where is my key here? It would be caret C, that's for cancel. So 2 cancels, and then LINE. And then hit OK. You've now programmed a regular AutoCAD object to produce line work on a layer key system, which is an AutoCAD architecture thing. And then we'll just test it here. So I'll pick on that tool now. Boom. And when you're done with it, pick on it, and it goes to the electric layer. Okay. So you might want to go in and play with some of those other tools, and maybe reverse engineer those tools to do functions that you need. Now, where do these tools go? So we made a palette and we put tools on it. So I'll go up here. Now, because it takes so many clicks to get there, I have it preset here. So I'll do a sort by date, sort back like that. Here we go. So what we're seeing is, this is where I said the name is good, or it's a good idea to have a unique name that you can search for that doesn't find other things. So I called it Archidyme Custom Tools. If I can't find this palette, at least I could put that name in there, star.atc, and it would find that palette. This is where the palette is. So if I go up in here, you'll see it's a long path, and it may be different on your system depending on what OS you're on. But here it is. It's under the user admin app data roaming Autodesk, and this is the release 2019 that I'm demonstrating on. ENU English unit support, and then it's under workspace catalog imperial, and then the final part is palettes. Okay, a long path. Again, with the search, you could find it on your system. Now it's good to know where these is, because sometimes you lose them or lose a path to them, or you want to copy it to another machine. So this is where it is in AutoCAD architecture. It's different in AutoCAD. Now also be aware, if I scroll down, there is always a folder within the palettes folder. So palettes always live under a palettes folder, and with the palettes comes an images folder. These are the icons that you see over here. So if you were to copy the tool palette, you'd also want to copy the images that belong there. And unfortunately, they're not separated by, so you'd have to copy all of them, right? They're not separated by the palette. So you have to copy the whole images folder unless you knew, and you can see them right here. Those are the 3 tools that I brought over. Okay, notice how they've been named with a number at the end. So that's how it tracks it. Now, take a look at this. Let's see, did I lose it? No, here it is. I'm gonna go to my notepad and I'm gonna drag that ATC file into that notepad. And what you're going to notice here is HTML code essentially. And once you have this in there, you can actually modify it if you ever needed to. So suppose you were to have some tool palettes that you needed to bring from one folder to another folder with a different name, and you want them to keep working. You don't want to have to go through and rebuild them all. You can manually go in here, do a replace, and change the path of all of the the path statements to the tools, and the icons are relative. It's just the tools themselves. So here's a tag name, reference equal, and here's the path that you would change. So I'm going to highlight the whole thing, and it's showing also the DWG file. So if you don't need to worry about the file, if the file name stays the same for the source, and it's just part of the path, you could just search for, let's say, up to, say, here, and do a replace on that. So yeah, that's how all of that stuff works. Now comes the next part. What we really don't want is to have these palettes just located in this default location. We want to organize it better. It's better for you, for your management of this stuff, better for when you have new releases that come out and you want to add the tools, better if you want to share it in an office with other users so they get to see the same tools. So now that requires the next step in AutoCAD architecture. And that is that we go to the catalog here, the library, and we make a new, what is it called, a catalog. Okay, so these are the catalogs that you get when you purchase products from Archetyme. These are the catalogs that came with the product, and now we'll bring in or create a new one. And you can also use the icon over here, or just right click. And what you want to do is add a catalog. Even though we're not adding one, we're building one from scratch. You still use the add catalog menu option here. So pick on that. Okay, and notice it has 2 options in here. It's create a new one or add an existing one. So if you purchased one of our products, or you have made one and you want to bring it into a new library in a different, on the network system, you want to, when you port it over, you want to add to it, you would use the add an existing one. You would go to browse, and like in the case of our products, you go to C, program files, Archetyme, and then you will see after the installer has run all the products that you purchase. So for example, if you purchase bathroom cabinets, or if you purchase all of our products, each one will have a folder. Inside of that folder will be the ATC file. It's just the one file for the catalog. And then after that comes the palettes and other things. But that's the one you're looking for. Now, in your own case, you're building your first one, you go to create new. And you might want to come up with a name. So I'm going to do this again. Archetyme custom catalog. And then what's important here is to note where it wants to put it. So it's got this default location that's kind of goofy. What is it? I think I have that one saved too. No, I don't. But it's sort of where it stores documents or something like that. Is that where it is? Yeah, I think it's in the documents on Windows. And just yeah, I think it's here. Here we go. My content browser library. Okay, and then here for who wants it in there? I don't want it in there. So what we'll do is we'll specify a location. So if you're on a network, you would put this on the network. If you just have a C drive, I'll go ahead and put it on my C drive. So I'll go to C drive here. I'll go ahead and make a new folder, and I'll go ahead and call it Archetyme ACA customization. So I would imagine I'm going to keep all of my AutoCAD architecture customization under that folder. You'll come up with a name that makes sense. This is just for demonstration purposes. So I'll hit OK. And you can see here now it shows that that is the path. And this will be the name. And then I'll just go ahead and say OK. And it gives me a script error. I'm not sure what's going on here. But if that happens to you, just close the content library and then just bring it back up. I once figured out why it had that script error, and I don't remember what it is now. But here it is, and it comes in with a blank blue kind of image, which is similar to the images that you have for your tools. So we can fix that right away. We can right-click on it, go to Properties. See the image up here? You can right-click on that and specify an image. Now you'll need to make it in a photo editor kind of software like even Photoshop. And the size of it is 90 wide by 120 tall. You can make it bigger, but it'll get scrunched down, reduced to match that. I will go ahead, I think I've made one here in the temp folder, and there it is, yeah. Now I made this one as an experiment. I made it as a transparent PNG file. That's what you have to use is PNG. I made it as actually I think you can pick others. They are showing up here, but I believe it'll be converted to a PNG once you're done. So might as well work in a PNG. But again, I'll pick this one. I made it transparent to see what would happen. And there it shows up. So it reads nicely here as a transparent image. We'll see what happens here in the library. Now, you can write a description. You could put some kind of a cover link. You can change the content to whatever you want. These little groupings down here. Content is what we typically use. And it's for the filtering and the sorting over here. And then down here, take a look where it says link items when added to workspace. Now, that tells this catalog that when you bring items out of it over to your tool palette here on the screen, that they're linked. So if there were to be changes in the catalog, they would be reflected into the palette. That's what you want in an office environment where you're sharing one common set of tools from a library such as this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. All right. And notice it didn't really stay transparent. It put in some kind of default gray, but interesting. Now we'll go inside of this, and then we'll decide on what we want to create in here. This is where you're in the library, the main first page of it, and you have these three options. So you can create a category. I'll just go ahead and let it do new. You can create a package. I never use packages. Or you can create palettes. All right, so those are the three that you have in there. Now a category is basically what the name says. It's just a link to where you can now do new sub things. So when I click on it, you can keep going. You can add another catalog, you can add another package, or you can add a tool palette. So it's just a kind of a link, a way of grouping it inside the content library here, or the catalog, library catalog. A package is really just a collection of tools. Notice there's nothing down here. So it's just, if you want to make a little place where you go and you pull tools out, you get it that way. And finally, which is what we do, most of our products, we've decided over the years that just putting them on a palette is kind of the most useful way to group them, because that gives you the option of either pulling them straight out of this location in the browser, or just adding the whole palette to your screen so you can go to work on that. Just tinker with them and figure out what works best. But again, I don't ever use the packages, but I have used categories and palettes, of course. For example, on the general tools, if you go to annotation, we see that as a category, and then you'll see the palettes in there. Just to help sort of create an organized way. Same with walls, then you see the palettes. All right, let's go back. Now, let's say, yeah, we'll do this. So now I could go to any of these and drag the tools over individually. So for example, I could go to package and I could drag, I could drag this up and bring it in like that. So now that tool lives there. But I can also go and do the same into this new palette. Or what you're probably going to do, once you've built a good tool palette is to take the whole palette right here from this tab, let's see, right here, and then drag it in to the browser. Okay, so now it's brought over Archetype Custom Tools, and you'll see that it's got all of that, all of the tools brought in. Now, if we go back to the File Explorer here, and we go to or C drive, go down here to C drive, and look at the folder we created. Now we'll see in that folder is the first catalog, and that catalog has with it palettes and categories. Let's see. Yeah, so if we go to palettes, we see 2 palettes which are reflected here. So there is the Archetype Custom Tools palette, and then there is the one called New Palette, which has nothing in it. Those are right there, and you'll see the images associated with them. So if you put more palettes in here, all of the images will lie in this one images folder, and you can see those are the tools in there. If you bring any of these palettes, let me pull this over, you can see it says ATC at the end. If you bring that into your notepad, go like this, okay, you're going to see that the path statement will still point to the original source file. And this is why I'm telling people, you know, be careful about where you locate your source files, because they get hard-coded no matter where you drag your palettes around and your tools around. The source of that data, the source of those object styles, is hard-coded in here. Now they do have an option to try to fix a problem if you feel like you're needing to move this stuff around. They have something down here, right-click, you can go to Publish. So Publish was actually meant as a path fixer, if you will, and I have not found this to be great. One of the problems I remember encountering, and this has been a long time since I've tested this, but in the early years of this, I found it didn't fix blocks. If you had path statements to just regular AutoCAD blocks in your tools, the paths weren't fixed. I prefer to manually control these paths, but you could use this in a pinch. If you find that you've now wanting to move your whole catalog from, say, your C drive to the server, you could try to copy it to another location, and then it'll build a copy, and it will try to fix all of the paths. It's a good place to start. So if you go to next, it'll ask you for the location to do that, and it'll crunch through that. But now that I've shown you how the paths are in Notepad, just you know, be aware of that as an alternative way of controlling and fixing those paths. Let's see, is there anything else to cover? I think that's pretty much it. So we'll do a follow-up video if there are questions regarding the tools and tool palettes. I'm out.